Good evening, everybody. You're all very welcome back to Underground Cinema. We're only a few days left till we get to the 16th Underground Cinema Film Awards. The interviews have been going great for the past couple of weeks. I've made some great new friends, and I'm meeting some old friends as well tonight. I've got with me tonight, I've got Garret Daly and Martina McGlynn. And Garret and Martina are great supporters of Underground Cinema. They go right back to the very start. They have a fantastic short film that they sent in to me early during the year. It's called Wrecker, and this film has been nominated for seven awards this year. Guys, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Dave.
Lovely to see you.
Yeah, listen, 7 awards. So let me just tell everybody what you've been nominated for. You've been nominated for Best Short Film. That's a Producers Award, Garret. You've been nominated for a Best Director Award. That's you, Martina. Best Cinematography, which is superb, for Aidan Galt. Best Production Design for James Donnelly. Best Sound Design for Killian Fitzgerald. Best Costume Design for Moretta Gorman-Jogan. And Best Score for Jack Dempsey McMahon. You must be delighted with those nods.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, lovely. It's great to be recognised like that. It's brilliant.
Yeah, in particular, like it's recognised for the producing and the direction, but also technical. And this film really stands out when you talk about it. To me, it's really a technical masterpiece. I know we chatted earlier on. This was a tough shoot, but can you tell us, just in a nutshell, what is this film all about, Wrecker?
Garret, I'm going to let you do that because our dog has just walked in. Excuse me.
Star of the show. There you go, we're live. So Wrecker is set during the famine, actually just after the famine. And it's the story of this young girl who realizes her father is managing to keep them going, but she suspects the methods in which he is doing it, and so she sort of follows him, discovers that actually he's part of a group that's he's a wrecker, so they're basically burning people out of their homes on behalf of a landlord, and she discovers this throughout it. So it's a very interesting film in the sense that it has no dialogue. It's all told just through watching the actions of this young girl and her father, and just trying to get into their heads to figure out what is actually going on, and the dynamic play between the pair of them, and just a very, very difficult time, and what people did to survive, and those that suffered as a result of it.
Yeah, I didn't know this was based on historical facts, to be honest with you at all, Garret. It was a first for me. When I was watching it, now I love the cinematography, and there's a great mood to this particular film as well. As you said, there's no dialogue whatsoever during this piece, so the score is really important. The sound design is really important because they take over where there is no dialogue. Your two actors, the lead male actor and the young girl, they work really, really well together. You know, in fact, when I was looking at the young girl, I said, God, she reminds me of. I was trying to think, who does she remind me of? And then I was thinking about Les Miserables. She's very like Cosette. She had that sort of look.
Yes.
You know, did you? I definitely thought that she looked great, especially from the film version of Les Mis.
Yeah, Peasant Girl. Yeah, she fulfilled that role really, really well, I think.
Yeah, there's a great scene in the film Les Mis, in the film version. There's a great scene with Cosette in the forest, you know, very similar to your young actress as well. And I said, God, that's fantastic. How did you go about the casting process for this?
Well, it was very interesting. I suppose the most important role for the film was the role of the girl, because you are talking about a child. She was only 10 in terms of the story, and I think she was only 10. Wasn't she only 10 in real life as well? She's just 10, the kid is just 10 years of age. So we had to go through a pretty rigorous process, but we had the benefit of a casting director this time. We had a Screen Ireland budget for this, so that's where, you know, the budget does come into its own, really. So we had the assistance of a casting director, but Garret and I kind of knew what we were looking for. But Dawn McAllister, who's the casting director, trawled through all the usual haunts, I suppose you could imagine, drama schools, etc., etc. And Cameron came about really quite easily. We whittled it down to maybe 6 or 8 children, and we met them a second time, and I felt it was important to meet them even a third time, so that we were convinced that we had the right girl for the role. And I definitely think that's one thing I know we did right. Selected the right kid at the end, and Cameron was just amazing. She's an amazing person to work with, really, and considering her age, she was wise and took direction very easily and was very comfortable working with Sam. Not intimidated. That's probably just kids of today really have no fear of anybody. But I was really struck by that. She was not intimidated by Sam, not intimidated by anybody, and was really friendly with the crew and Aidan, the cinematographer, and Garret, who produced. So it was just, she was a find. That's how I would say. Cameron was a find.
Absolutely, she's great. And Sam, how did you come across Sam?
I have to think back now how we got Sam. Well, it did involve writing. We wrote to him. Sam is from County Offaly, and I'm a County Offaly native as well. And originally, when we were talking about making the film, we had some notions about it being shot in Offaly. We changed our mind about that. But I wrote to him and I told him about myself and about our production company and the fact that we were based in Offaly. Explained the vision for the film and told him that we wanted to lean into sort of the more artistic side of filmmaking, rather than, whilst it is narrative led, I wanted it to be, really stylistic, and he seemed to like that. And then we also had a mutual friend who knew him as well, so that obviously came into play a little bit. But that's how it happened. Connections.
Super.
And I think being authentic. I think, Dave, being honest with people. Generally, an actor will be curious about a script if the script is good enough, I think.
Yeah. This strikes me as a film that a lot of pre-production work went into it, in particular, like sourcing locations, etc., and getting the right team together. Were you in pre-production for a while on this?
We were, yeah. I mean, we, as Martina alluded to, we were fortunate enough to have a decent budget for it, being a Screen Ireland production. But what you begin to realize is budget sometimes just buys you access to a lot of good people, which is what we got, and it also gives you a little bit more time. But of course, it was a very difficult shoot because none of these locations existed. We needed a couple of cottages. We needed a cottage that we could burn. We needed, to look like landscape that was untouched. So there was many challenges to it, and you don't kind of first realize that when you get hooked by a script and you like the script, and the writing was by Aoife Bradshaw was terrific. It really drew us in, and then when you get into the pre-production side, you're thinking, oh my gosh, everything from costumes to props to art direction, it all had to be sourced. So the budget, thankfully, was there on a short like this to try and live up to that, but even at that, it was incredibly difficult. We moved locations I don't know how many times, between weather causing us issues. We were going to film in Kerry at one stage, but the location that we had gone to literally got washed out in the March-April lead up to it. So I think maybe 3 weeks out, everything had to be readjusted. And of course, we had a short window when you get casting with someone the likes of Sam. He's got lots of projects lined up. So yeah, we had to kind of just rework it, find new locations. That's what brought us to Offaly in the end. So there was a nice synergy to it, actually. So we filmed in Oma and then we filmed in Offaly. So it was a 4-day shoot. So it wasn't that long of a shoot with the unit move in between. So I think we did okay, considering, it was very much, trying to pick up the pieces when weather got in our way. But we somehow managed to do it, which, was stressful, but it worked out all for the best.
Did you shoot at a particular time of the year?
It was April, wasn't it, Martina, that we filmed it?
Yes, it was April, actually, because there was awful rain that March a couple of years back. So we did it in April. cold, but not too cold.
No, it was okay. Yeah.
It was enough to sort of set the tone of the piece, the weather was that cold.
Yeah, your cinematographer, Aidan is just such a brilliant cinematographer. Obviously, you worked very closely with him. Was this film storyboarded at all, or did you put a lot of work into that as well?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you exactly what happened. I storyboarded it. I storyboarded half of it, we'll say, based on the Kerry location. And then I'd put a lot of time and effort into it, and I thought about it a lot. And then Garret informed me that because of weather and all the rest of it, and the fact that the site had been washed away in the storm, that we were moving locations, which meant that the original cottage, the original for everything, now had to be changed. So I did storyboard a certain amount of it, but being quite honest with you, Aidan and I had to have kind of an emergency meeting, and we had several of them, and we come up with a style. And on a day-to-day, yes, what I wrote out was shots. We did shot lists, never got back to the storyboard. Nobody's fault, just we didn't have enough time. But I think definitely for myself, and Garret will tell you, just sometimes for the brain, I guess it depends for different people, but I think I certainly would be someone who would need the storyboard just to keep on track and not forget things, because that does happen. You get caught up in a moment and then you forget some very simple shot, like a reverse or something basic like that. So even down to that, I would certainly advise it. But in this case, I didn't follow my own advice, but not through my fault. It wasn't my fault.
I think the prep was done, and I mean it's generally the mark of great direction and that's when you're truly tested as a director. It's not about walking onto set fully prepared. It's when time is gone or a performance isn't quite how you imagined, and all pressures come from external sources that nobody wants there, and good direction has been able to respond to that and still maintain and hold on to the film's core when all those pressures come. And I think that's definitely a mark of how well Martina did, considering the pre-production issues as such, that I landed on her doorstep and sort of said, this is happening. So to be able to turn around in a matter of 2 weeks and still reimagine all the scenes, find that style, be able to hold it, and the film has such a wonderful tone because of that. It's so assured, and between herself and Aidan, that tone that they stuck to and covered the scenes in a way that just really made it, I had the benefit of editing it at the end. It knew its own voice from beginning to end in the edit suite. It wasn't difficult to sort of piece together in that way because of the skill that they brought to it.
Yeah, the production design and the costumes are outstanding. How challenging was it to recreate sort of a famine era Ireland in such detail on a short film budget?
It was challenging, wasn't it, Garret? I mean, that's where you do need people working with you that you trust and you've worked with before, because I mean, we had several funny moments. I wanted everything to be very restrained, and then your biggest fear when you're doing a period piece is that the thing will look like too theatrical or too done up or too whatever. So the paring back wasn't a problem, but what we ended up in the end was a cottage that was already built, and we had to pare back everything, and we had a great guy in James Donnelly who knew exactly what we were looking for and had some great ideas, and he sourced some amazing pieces of furniture, and we had the benefit of getting genuine famine chairs from a gentleman who owns an antique shop nearby us here. And listen, it was just we were very lucky, I think, in how that side of things worked out. And in terms of Maretta, Gorman Gagan, Moretta's the costume designer. Well, Maretta and I and Garret have worked on loads of stuff. We all know each other very well. We never take ourselves too seriously until we really have to. And she delivered in the end on a tight budget, as she always does. And also has some great ideas. She thinks a little bit outside the box, which I like to. There's being authentic and sticking with what we believed people wore at the time. But, she added stuff like that scarf that Sam wore and little touches like that which I think, and the smock dress that Cameron wore, I just think they were pretty unique. And I loved working with her and James. They were great. Couldn't have done it without them.
Yeah, they're brilliant, and we've seen a number of short films over the past couple of years that are touching on Irish history. Actually, we had a great one this year, and I don't know if you've got a chance to see it. It's called Own, directed by Alan Hopkins, and that's another famine film, which I think was superb. I interviewed Alan there. Have you seen it? It's a really good piece,
Yes,
isn't
I
it?
have. Very good. Yeah,
It's
really nice. We were very conscious of that as well. Sorry, Dave. I was going to say, when you're touching on a period like that, we had an interesting thing where we had all the sort of heads of department have conversations with Dr. Kieran Riley in Maynooth, and his specialist area is all things to do with the famine, and particularly he'd written a lot of papers about wreckers, which we discovered when we talked to him. And so all the heads of department got to have many a conversation with him, which was wonderful, from production design to even the script. I mean, there was a last minute addition to the script, which is kind of really powerful and it's not expositional in any way, because we didn't enhance the story to kind of focus on that. But at the beginning of the film, the wrecker walks into the kitchen and he places down shoes for the young girl. And that sort of came from a conversation with Kieran, where he said wreckers would take elements of the houses that they had just destroyed, and if they needed something in their family home, they'd bring it home. Well, his daughter had no shoes, and he brings home these shoes. That's why she throws them into the cottage at the end, because she wants away with everything that he has brought to her through these means. So it's not said, it's not highlighted, it's there, it's in the film, and it came from that sort of expert, I suppose, who has studied the area so much, and we were very conscious of that, to try and get so many of those elements right. You'll never get them all right. You're trying as best as you can to do that, but I think isn't it lovely to think that came about within the film from those conversations that we all had.
Yeah, that's fantastic to hear, Gareth. Again, on Own, I interviewed Deirdre Bulger, who's up for a production design award as well. And the amount of research that she put into that film as well, and also like sourcing the furniture as well. There's a great scene in the film where you see furniture all strewn on the road, from various different houses that have been looted, or the costumes. She put an awful lot of work into the costumes as well, like your own team did. And it's fantastic when you have a team like that puts so much research into it. Like, it looks amazing. In this room here, Garret, as you know, I moved to Longford and I've worked on this particular house. And this room was just an empty room. And I said to Karen, I'll work away in the house, I'll do everything, but this room is mine. And so I put a big cinema screen in here. I have 5.1 sound right the way around the place. I put in recliner seats, and I watch your film and everybody else's film on the big screen, because it's so different to watching it on a 17-inch monitor compared to a big giant screen. It's so different. You pick up so much more. In fact, if you go to the cinema to watch, say, a cult film, say The Shining, they bring back the films every now and again. When you go to see it in the cinema, you see so much more the big screen that you've missed on VHS or on DVD on your TV. So it must have looked, when you started screening the films in front of an audience on the big screens. I'm just wondering how well did it? I'm sure it went down super on the big. It looked amazing. Were you pleased with it? What was the audience reaction when they saw it?
I was probably an annoyance, wasn't I, Martina, to projectionists?
Yeah.
Because
we were so worried about the sound.
Yeah, and I always wanted the sound tweaked up a little bit more, because usually they balance it off dialogue, and of course we've no dialogue, so we wanted it. We wanted the audience to feel like they were surrounded by the story, and so always getting them to push it up a little bit more, go to a Spinal Tap 11 if they could, for the sound. And Jack, who did the score, I mean, the score is kind of fantastic. He's a turntablist. And he basically recorded elements of the score. He mixed them down onto a turntable, and there's elements in there that he's got mixing going on in it. It's just terrific, and you need to hear it loud to really get a sense of that.
Yeah, I got it. I got it in this room here. You know,
Great.
it was so important for me to, because the sound and the score and the sound design are another character to this film as well. Especially with a film that doesn't have dialogue, it's so important. So I understand where you're coming from. Were you long in post production and Garret? The edit's superb. You did a great job. A lot of work has
Yeah.
gone into it. I could see. Were you really long?
Yeah, we were. It wasn't. The elements such as VFX and the likes took a bit of time, you know, and
Yeah.
and we hadn't huge amount of experience in that ourselves before,
Yeah.
so that was interesting to kind of be embedded in that. Yeah, it cut together pretty well. There's always little changes that you would make, but as I said earlier, they'd done such a good job in the scenes that they were easy to cut. But yeah, then working on that element with sound, and I know there was lots of kind of extra Foley work that was done that Cillian oversaw, because he realized that you want the audience to be sitting still at moments, and of course you can't have nothing on screen, so to layer in elements like that, and then obviously with the score to sort of bring that big. So it took probably, after we had picture cut, it probably took longer, because we were trying to build those elements out and really get that feeling that it grew and grew and grew as you watched the film.
You build into something, yeah.
Yeah,
It's trickier than you might think when there's no dialogue. You really are relying on the performances, and that's what the performances were just key to this. Subtle yet assured, I think, is what we spoke about, and I think we got that, because when you've nothing to say, your eyes or your body language or where you are in the frame or how we film you tells the story. And trying to build and build and build without any dialogue, it's tricky. So that's where the sound design and score really came into their own. I think Jack did an absolutely fabulous job. I wish more people would hear it, because I think that's a masterclass in sound design and score. I thought it was just amazing. I loved it.
Yeah.
It just I hear it, and yeah.
Yeah, I agree too. It's great, and it is a type of film that needs to be seen, you know, on the big screen with a really great sound system. I also thought the visual effects were great. You know, the fire on top of the cottage is really good. It looks real. I love the reflection in the little girl's eye. I think that's a really good piece. And you've got some nice still photographs that you sent me through your film subway submission. So it's a really nice shot. So they all look great. They all just added the production values to this were superb. I forgot to say as well, the lighting is really good on this as well. It's lit really, really well. The cottage scenes are, you know, they're not too dark, but yet they're dark enough. You know, the interiors. I thought the exterior shots look great. That scene just when he's about to torch the cottage as well looks fantastic. It's really atmospheric. Colors are really good. The grade is really good. I think the work. Who did the grade, Garret? Did you do that?
Eugene McChrystal.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah. We've always worked with Eugene.
Great. Yeah.
And that scene, as you said before, at the cottage, like that was magic hour. It was shot at magic hour. So we had that little bit of light to do it, and it was such pressure. I mean, trying to get VFX right and everything lined up as well. And like Martina talked about Cameron, I mean, Sam is well, he's so experienced, he's so good, and he delivers each time, and that's a big scene for him. And my God, I think he nailed it. Like in like there was only 2 takes of it or something, and he was just superb. He could have picked anything from it. And then you flip to the other side, and you've this 10 years old little girl, and she's in the middle of all this craziness trying to get this big scene done, and she's just superb, and she carries off. And so like to see that scene cut together and work, because you read it so many times on the script and go, that's so big, and then in film production it comes down to an hour of your time because you're shooting it at the last light of the day, and what pressure. And then when you see it, you just take a deep breath and say, it looks fantastic. Everyone did so well.
Fantastic. So you finish up in post. The film was ready for the festival circuit. And then the good news is that you get an IFTA nod.
Yeah, which we were very surprised about and really happy about. Yeah.
And people say that I wasn't expecting, we weren't expecting anything. We really weren't expecting anything. So that was just amazing. That was enough. That was enough. And, just when you're recognized by your peers like that, that's really all that matters. We can send over this film now. I hope it survives, and I hope people kind of can refer back to it and consider it, especially in historical and cultural context. So if that happens, then I would say our job is done with this film, and we can move on now, happy in the knowledge that is the case. But we're also delighted to be nominated for Underground.
Yeah, 7 awards. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, I mean, we go back so far, Garret. We think back to, I can remember you sitting on the chair in Delary when we screened Bodman and The Road of Souls and No Nightingale, and we've screened so much of your work over the years. But I did, after watching this one, and I know we screened your feature and everything, I know, but after I watched this one, I just said, this is one of the best ones you've done. I loved it. I thought it was just a great piece of filmmaking. It was really superb. And I'm wondering, with the festival journey at the moment, how are the audience taking it as well? I'd love to see what the reaction to this film would be in the States, or around Europe or the UK. I'm sure it travels really well because there's no dialogue. You can play it in any part of the world, but it also resonates with Ireland today as well.
Oh, with the housing crisis, it definitely has contemporary relevance with the whole housing crisis, because the prospect of owning one's own home now is more challenging than ever. So it's interesting. But Garret, the film was in France recently, wasn't it?
It was in France recently, yeah, and it got a special mention by the jury there at it was a historical film festival. Aoife was over at it. We weren't at it, and unfortunately, we didn't get to many of the screenings. It was in a number of festivals in the States. It was in. It was across Europe in a few festivals as well. We didn't get any, just with the nature of the traveling to them and the costs that it takes. But we had one person who was attached to the film, lives in the States, went to a couple of the screenings, and they were engaged in lots of conversation. It sparks conversation. Some people find it very moving as a film. And I think as well, it found it hard to get into some festivals as well, because you were dealing with a film without dialogue. And so its pace is quite slow. And I think if people are watching it on their laptop, judging whether, that's sometimes not the greatest experience when you're trying to woo somebody to get it into a festival. We were well aware of that in advance. We knew who we were making it for and what we wanted it to be, and we made our peace with that. I mean, we had made a very very successful crowd pleaser of a documentary previous to this, so we'd experienced the other side of when a crowd loves something. Here was something challenging that we knew we were going to put in front of people, whether they were programmers or audiences, and some people need time to reflect at the end of it before they can process what they've just seen. And that's been a bit of that's any of the screenings we were at, I found that's the experience, is that you need to let it sit with people to kind of think about it and think about everything they've just watched within the film.
Yeah, it's the type of film that I've watched it a couple of times, to be honest with you. So I think it's a type of film that you should, if you can get the opportunity to watch it again, not just the first time, let it link in. And if you can get a chance to watch it, do watch it, because it's like any really good movie. You watch it the second and the third time, you'll always pick up something new, and it's a really good idea to watch again.
And it's going to be on short screen shortly. RT's short screen is going to be on at the end of November. So people will get a chance to see it, and obviously the player as well, the RT player, it'll be on after that as well. So that'll be good. It'll be interesting that's a new audience beyond festivals as well, which is always a good measure to see how people react to it.
When you do a project this sounded like it was quite challenging, but at the end of the day, it was worth it because you come out with just such a fantastic film. So with all the hard work is definitely worth it. I certainly know when I do something and you put an enormous amount of work into something like you've done, all you want to do at the end of it is just take a break and sit back and relax. And I used to do this in theatre, you know, I'd direct a huge big show and then I don't want to see another play, I don't want to see another actor. And I walk past a bookshop and the next thing I'm in there reading scripts and 2 days later I'm cast in another show. Are you guys like that? Have you something in mind at the moment?
Yeah, there is something in the pipeline. Well, Garret's always working on stuff.
I retired. It forced me into retirement. It was too difficult. No, we do. We have a feature film that Martina's going to be directing, and it's a period piece. So I think Wrecker has been a very good setup for that. And I think if she can bring the same sort of sensibilities in filmmaking to this piece, which is called A Quiet Tide, I think, we'd be hoping that it's all about getting the finances together. It's in development with Screen Ireland, and we'd love to shoot it towards the end of next year. The script's in a great place. Marianne Lee wrote the script, and it's based on a book. So that's the big focus.
Yeah, we should say it's about a botanist. It's about a female botanist. Another period piece set in 1840. Ellen Hutchins is her name, and she discovered a seaweed, a species of seaweed. But as is always the case with these women of the time, they weren't recognised for the work that they were doing. And she put the foot down at one stage and said, I want to be credited for this work. And all her efforts went into that, and she had a bit of a sad demise at the end. So it's not, it's a very interesting story in a historical context, and a beautiful story about a woman who really, against everything, found this seaweed, almost killed herself in the process. But the constraints of the times meant she had to live her life a certain way, and that's what I found most interesting. If we can get that across the line, it's looking good. If we can get it across the line, it would be amazing. Yeah.
And she's kind of had a bit of a resurgence as well. That her name is getting a lot more recognized. That one of the science buildings in UCC has been named after her recently. There's a new festival that celebrates all her work and her findings as well. So there's an interest in her. But yeah, I know with the script that has been developed and with the sort of tone that Martina will bring to it, you're talking about a very beautiful film by the sea of someone searching for something in herself, while also searching for, as you said, plants and seaweeds that would go on to be recognized and acknowledged based on her. So yeah, it has a lot, and we're kind of really excited to get into it. We're going back a little bit further from famine times for another period piece.
I did really badly, but next time I'll be more prepared.
You guys are expert at period pieces. I mean, you Road of Souls was the very first period piece that you guys had sent in to me, and A Nightingale Falling, of course, you've sent into us. You're very good at period pieces. I've no doubt that you're going to knock your next feature out of the park, to be honest with you. I'm really delighted. I love having a chat with you guys. You're so great fans of underground cinema. You're great supporters. We really appreciate it. I loved the film. I have to say, I thought it was fantastic. And thanks a million for joining me this evening.
Thank you, Dave. It was a real pleasure.
Always a pleasure. And we look forward to the night as well.
Yeah, we can't wait for the awards. We look forward to seeing you there, guys. So see you in 2 weeks.
Thanks.
Good, Dave.
Take care, guys. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.